My name is Jackie C. I am a clinical registered dietitian and nutritionist at the Mayo Clinic. Today's topic is nutrition for cancer survivors. A cancer survivor is anyone who's been diagnosed with cancer. It doesn't mean they've been cured. And the population of cancer survivors is increasing because of earlier detection and better treatments. So the government is starting to pay more attention to the needs of survivors. And they've come up with some guidelines that revolve around three main themes. They want us to maintain a healthy weight, stay physically active, and eat a more plant-centered diet. The guidelines for survivors actually depend upon where you're at in the scheme of things. So if you're getting treatment, chemo or radiation, you should focus on getting enough calories and protein. One of the most important guidelines is to maintain a healthy weight. As your weight goes up, you're more likely to get 13 different kinds of cancer. The lowest cancer rates occur at a BMI of 19 to 25. And as your BMI goes up, your risk of cancer also increases. This slide shows the different cancers that are associated with being overweight or obese. How does obesity increase your risk of cancer? For one thing, it increases hormone levels. For example, fat cells produce estrogen, and estrogen can increase your risk of breast cancer. It increases insulin levels, and insulin-like growth factors in your blood can lead to cancer. It also promotes inflammation, which can lead to the development and progression of cancer. And if you lose weight, it improves all of these conditions. It's not necessary to lose a ton of weight. Just losing 5 or 10% of your weight can have a big impact. Exercise is associated with lower rates of cancer. The guidelines recommend at least 150 minutes a week or 30 minutes 5 times a week of moderate exercise. If you do more intense exercise, you don't have to do as much. Exercise has a lot of benefits for cancer survivors. It may reduce your risk of recurrence. It helps prevent bone loss and muscle loss. It helps improve outcomes for treatment, and it is the best way we know of for counteracting fatigue associated with treatment. Now, if you're not fond of exercise, or if your exercise is limited for physical reasons, try to be more active throughout the day. Walk in your house. Pace while you're talking on the phone. Wear a pedometer and keep track of your steps. Every step and every movement helps. Housework, yard work. Now they're saying that sitting is the new smoking because people who sit for long periods end up becoming overweight, and that leads to cancer, diabetes, and other health problems. Let's talk about eating a more plant-centered diet. Plant foods include anything from a plant. Vegetables, fruits, grains, beans, nuts. Plant foods have a lot of nutrients that protect us from disease, including antioxidants, fiber, phytochemicals, and others. Antioxidants are certain vitamins in food that block damaging chemical reactions in your body that would otherwise lead to cancer and other illnesses. Carotenoids include vitamin A, beta-carotene, lycopene, lutein, and others. These are found primarily in dark green and deep orange vegetables such as sweet potatoes and carrots and broccoli and spinach. Lycopene is found in tomatoes, pink grapefruit, and watermelon. Citrus is probably the most well-known source of vitamin C because we eat a lot of oranges and grapefruit, but some foods have more vitamin C than citrus. For example, peppers have 3 times more vitamin C than oranges. Baked potatoes, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. So if you eat a more plant-centered diet, you get all of these nutrients. Phyto is Greek for the word plant. These are naturally occurring chemicals in plants that protect us from disease. There are thousands of them, and they're found in all fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, beans. So this is just a very few examples. Tea is a good source of flavonoids. And green tea has 3 times as many flavonoids as black tea. Herb teas are not true teas, so they don't have the same effects. Sometimes women with breast cancer are afraid to eat soy foods. Soy is considered a phytoestrogen, and since estrogen feeds breast cancer, it was once thought that phytoestrogens would do the same thing. But the latest studies show that there's no connection, and soy foods may even be beneficial, but you should try to get it from natural sources, not from supplements, and don't go overboard. About 2 servings a day is a healthy level. Cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are in the cabbage family and include things like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, pictured in the center. These have powerful antioxidants or phytochemicals that protect us from cancer. So we should try to eat those several times a week. Fiber is the indigestible plant foods. It includes skins, seeds, nuts, hulls, whole grains. Fiber is most notable for preventing colon cancer. And it does this by helping your colon cleaned out. So if there are any cancer cells in your colon, they get excreted before they can grow into tumors. Fiber is the best source of prebiotics. Probiotics are the healthy bacteria in your colon, and prebiotics feed those. And high fiber foods are usually lower in calories, so they promote weight control as well. Grain products fall into 2 main categories, the whole grains and refined grains. Whole grains contain all the parts of the plant, the bran, germ, endosperm, and this is where all the nutrients are. And when whole grains are processed or refined, they lose all of these parts, and all that's left is starch and a little bit of protein. So the government recommends that we try to consume at least 3 servings of whole grains a day. And this seems to be doable for most people. For example, if you ate oatmeal for breakfast and had your sandwich on whole wheat bread for lunch, you've got your 3 in. But you could go a step further and switch to brown rice or whole wheat pasta. Some people are choosing novel grains like quinoa or millet. And of course, who doesn't like popcorn? If you do eat refined grains, look for those that are enriched and fortified, which means some of the B vitamins and iron have been added back. So how can you tell if something's a whole grain? Look for whole as the first ingredient. Whole as the first ingredient. That means it's at least 50% whole grain. There are lots of other healthy sounding grains out there like cracked wheat or multigrain or 7-grain, but they should contain whole as the first ingredient. You could also check the fiber content. Products that have 2 to 3 grams of fiber per serving are a good source of fiber, and products with 3 or more grams, more than 3 grams of serving per serving, products with more than 3 grams of fiber per serving are excellent sources of fiber. Most adults should have between 20 and 35 grams of fiber per day. Red meat is linked primarily with colon cancer, and processed meats are linked with both colon and stomach cancer. Studies do show that people who eat up to 18 ounces of red meat a week have the same cancer rates as strict vegetarians. So it's not necessary to eliminate red meat, but some people could eat 18 ounces a day. For example, if you had ham and eggs for breakfast and a roast beef sandwich for lunch and steak or a burger for dinner, that could add up to at least a pound. And this is what we're trying to get away from. Processed meats should be eaten only occasionally. These are some tips for reducing red meat. You can eat more poultry, fish, and shellfish. These have not been linked with cancer, and some studies even show that fish eaters have lower cancer rates. Maybe there's something in fish, or maybe it's because they're not eating red meat. You could have beans for a vegetarian meal once a week. Some people celebrate Meatless Monday, and they'll have a vegetarian dish such as a veggie burger or beans and rice or a vegetarian stew. When you do eat red meat, limit it to 3 ounces at a time. This is about the size of a deck of cards. Also choose leaner cuts such as sirloin or tenderloin, or at least 90% lean ground beef. If you use the meat in stews or casseroles, it goes farther than if you just have a steak or a roast. Plus, you get the vegetables to counteract the effects of the meat. Beans or legumes are a good alternative to meat. They have almost as much protein, and most people in the U.S. get more protein than they need anyway. Plus, they're lower in fat, they have no cholesterol. Cholesterol is only found in animal foods. Plus, they contain more fiber and iron. This is where vegetarians get their protein. But even if you're not ready to give up your meat, just adding beans to your diet is a good move. Now, one of the ways that meat leads to cancer is if it's cooked at very high temperatures, like deep frying or grilling, some chemicals form. These are called hydrocyclic amines, or polyaromatic hydrocarbons. However, you can avoid the consequences of high temperature cooking by using medium heat. Cook your meat at least 6 inches away from the heat source. Start the meat out in the oven or microwave and then finish it off on the grill just for the grill flavor. Avoid flare-ups. If your meat becomes charred, that portion should be discarded. Marinating cuts down on these chemicals by about 90% by creating a barrier. So if you marinated in teriyaki sauce or Italian dressing. Plus, it adds a delicious flavor. You don't have to worry about these chemicals if you grill fruits and vegetables. These chemicals only form when protein is heated. So you could put zucchini or asparagus on the grill, or peach halves or bananas. Alcohol is linked with at least 6 different cancers. And the American Cancer Society says there's no safe level of alcohol. Any amount increases your cancer risk. However, the American Heart Association is saying a little bit is good for your heart. So if you must drink, women should have no more than 1 drink a day, and men 2 drinks a day. There's a rumor going around that sugar feeds cancer. Sugar does not directly feed cancer, but it is a big source of calories, and that can lead to weight gain, and the weight gain is a big factor for, like I said, 13 different cancers. The government is trying to get everyone to cut down on sugar because it's such a big source of calories. Some states are putting taxes on soft drinks to discourage people from buying it. The American Heart Association recommends that children have no more than 8 ounces of soda pop a week, and children under the age of 2 should have no sugar because then they acquire a taste for it. The dietary guidelines for Americans recommends no more than 10% of your calories from sugar. So it's not just cancer survivors that need to limit sugar, but all Americans. The guidelines recommend that we do not rely on supplements for protection. The nutrients in food interact with each other to protect us from disease. And if you isolate one nutrient in a pill, it loses this synergy. Some supplements in large doses could interfere with your treatment or counteract the effects of your chemo or radiation. Most studies have been disappointing. We know that people who eat a lot of foods high in vitamin C or beta-carotene have lower cancer rates, but every time they've done a study with nutrients, with supplements, they've been disappointing. There may be some indications when you need to take supplements, however. For example, let's say you have osteoporosis and you don't drink milk. Well, then it might be appropriate for you to take calcium with vitamin D. Or you went to the doctor, he checked your blood and found that you were deficient in iron. Well, he's probably going to recommend an iron supplement. But it's best to check with your healthcare provider because they have access to your blood tests, your conditions, your medication list, and so forth. Some people ask if they should buy organic foods. It's really a personal choice. There's no evidence that pesticides increase cancer risk, and there's no evidence that organic foods are more nutritious. The benefits of eating any fruits and vegetables outweigh the risk. And if we recommend that you only eat organic, a lot of people would stop eating fruits and vegetables altogether because they're more expensive, they're not available everywhere, and that would be worse. So, in summary, try to maintain a healthy weight, stay physically active, eat a more plant-centered diet, and limit foods high in fat and sugar, and try to get your nutrients from your food. These are some Mayo-approved resources with information on nutrition. The American Cancer Society has guidelines for cancer survivors. including general guidelines and then more specific guidelines for the 4 leading cancer types in the U.S., which include lung, colon, prostate, and breast, and what you can do to improve your survival. The American Institute for Cancer Research has a section called Foods That Fight Cancer, and they feature different foods and what's in them, why you should eat them. For example, flaxseed or blueberries or garlic. And the oncology dietitians have a section called Frequently Asked Questions, like, should I buy organic? Should I avoid alcohol? Should I eat sugar? And things like that. If you have any questions, please visit the Cancer Education Center in the lobby level of the Gonda building, or ask to see a registered dietitian nutritionist. Thank you.